So, Mr. Gatto, AB 2138, please. Your timing is impeccable, sir. Thank you.
I move we waive presentation on Assembly Bill 2138.
Denied.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee. Assembly Bill 2138 starts with the premise that government is too insular, that only a handful of firms typically submit or answer requests for proposals for government contracts for most governmental systems. And it also starts with another premise, which is there's a lot of people out there who have a lot of ideas for improving our government, but they don't always know how to do it or how to submit their ideas to improve our government or our systems. Assembly Bill 2138 would open up government to any innovator with an idea, and it does it inexpensively by allowing 3 different department heads in the executive branch to offer a modest prize that would go far less than or is far cheaper than the traditional government award for these type of things. It's my hope that somebody might have a system idea for improving the way that the DMV delivers benefits to veterans, or improving the way that the DMV delivers services, or that we deliver benefits to veterans. We have a lot of innovators in California, and I think this would encourage them to participate in government. There's a long history of these type of prizes. Obviously, the most famous one is the Longitude Prize in the 17th century, where the government of Britain offered £20,000 to anybody who could calculate longitude. I think they had a way of calculating latitude, but no one could calculate longitude at the time. Most recently, the DARPA, which is a federal agency, Defense Department agency, offered a small prize. It was really small. It was $7,500 in cash to anyone who could design a better combat support vehicle. And there was a guy named Victor Garcia who had immigrated to this country from Mexico at age 5, and he was enrolled in a technical institute, and he submitted his plan for this truck, this combat truck, and it was this great idea, and the Defense Department gave him the prize. And you might say, well, who would ever do all this work for $7,500? But in today's world, it's the renown, it's the fame that one gets by, solving a big problem for the government that makes these so desirable. I want to thank the committee's consultant for the tremendous analysis and all their help. And I also want to thank Mr. Ballin for his ideas. He proposed some, I think, amendments to my staff that we are going to take. Some ideas for amendments that we need to take. We need to clarify specifically that the prize will not be awarded unless it solves the actual problem, right? So that we're not just going to grant a prize for the best idea, but we're going to grant the prize, like the Longitude Prize, if it actually solves the problem. And also that the government savings, or the government, and this comes from conversations with several members of the committee, that the government savings have to be in excess of the prize awarded. Even if it's a modest prize, we want to make sure that the government saves money. So that's it. I think this is a novel idea for getting some good ideas into our state government, and I respectfully ask for a vote.
Mr. Gatto, do you have any witnesses that would like to testify in support of your bill?
I don't think so.
Any members of the public that would like to also support this bill? Seeing none, are there any members of the public that would like to testify in opposition to the bill? Seeing none of that, do we have any comments from the committee or questions? Ms. Corpusilla?
Mr. Gatto, I love this bill. We're up here, and a lot of times we hear things that are really impacting lives, and they're heavy, and we don't always get to look kind of at the vision out there. And yesterday, sitting on the Aerospace Select Committee, as we look at our industry in aerospace, we have to be looking at ways to get those creative thinkers at younger ages. And so even though this isn't done under that umbrella, it's just this idea of getting excitement, of creating this competition, and people love prizes. So I'll do a little hashtag love this bill, and I'd like to be considered as a co-author.
Thank you, of course. Thank you.
Is there any other members? Mr. Hagman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gatto, I think it's a good concept. I think there's a lot of holes in it right now, but you already addressed a couple of them in your intro, and I think you're going to have to find out some more as you go through. If no one comes up with an idea that year, does you have to award the 75, 3 awards? Obviously not. They may have a good idea, and I don't mind giving them the prize out if it's a prize, but maybe we don't have the finances to get from point A to point B. So you can't just say you have to save the money, because you may not have we can say we want make the courts all more efficient with the computerized integrated system. We don't have the money to do all that right now, but still good idea. Who's going to be your judging panel? Do you get any backlash by the idea, well, I need to get rid of all the executives on top because they don't do nothing anyway in my department? They're the ones making the decision. There's a lot of those different types of things. I think work through it, run some scenarios in your head, and it's a small price. It's one thing we always talk about government is they're not being the most out-of-the-box thinkers, and this will encourage some of that. So I think it's a modest price to try it and also support your bill today. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Medina.
Mr. Gatto, I also like the idea of this bill very much, and I'm certainly in favor of it. But I am seeing one part here in the amendment, and a question for you, that it would exclude employees of the state of California. And if I remember correctly, my father was a federal employee, and Edwin was once given an award for efficiency in his own department. And I'm wondering if the federal government might, still continue such programs that seem valuable. And so my question is, why do we exclude employees of the state?
Well, we really wrestled with that issue for a long time because we recognize that there might be a low-level employee within a certain executive branch agency who might have an idea and might not be able to run that up the flagpole or otherwise get that idea known. But the more we thought about it, the more we thought it would probably look inappropriate if somebody had an idea for efficiency and they didn't actually, it would really speak very poorly for a department if, let's say somebody had a wonderful, cost-effective way to solve the DMV's massive computer problems, and you had some computer programmer whose job at the DMV was to solve computer problems, and for whatever reason his or her ideas were not getting run up the chain. So we don't want to make this sort of an award for an employee or a bonus, if you will, for people who have great ideas. And we know there are many state employees who have wonderful ideas. We wanted to make this really for those circumstances where a department head would acknowledge that they have hit a wall or that there's a discrete task that we need better technology for. An example would be, a better transponder to solve some of the issues we have on some of these hot lanes, right? Or something that's very discrete, and a company or an individual, an inventor, a high school student might come forward and say, I've got this great idea. And I think there'd be another way to do that for employees as well, but it's not in this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Salas.
Mr. Gatto. No, I just want to say thank you for bringing this bill. I think it's an innovative idea, and I know we've had discussions about the accountability piece, and thank you for actually taking those amendments. And I think for the rest of the members, those amendments actually address maybe not all of Mr. Hagman's concerns, but I think most of the committees, and so I just wanted to thank you for doing that.
And thank you for your input.
Ms. Olson?
Thank you. Again, I appreciate the creative approach. I love creative bills that try to get around the box of traditional thinking in the halls of the legislature. Mr. Medina asked one of my questions about state employees, so I'll throw a suggestion at you that maybe you could consider going forward, largely because we have hundreds of thousands of state employees in the state of California, most of whom would be really far removed from one particular agency. So maybe you could consider not awarding the prize to an employee within the department or agency that is awarding it, but maybe anybody that works in a different department or a different agency or in the higher ed system, for example, would be eligible.
So, for example, if a CHP officer comes up with that transponder, he's a tinker at home and says, hey, I've got a better way. Okay, that's fair, like cross-pollination. Okay.
Exactly. So I'd love it if you consider that.
Ms. Olson, if I could, just to answer that question,
Yes.
we do have an existing state merit award program in existing law for state workers, so that we've covered that base.
Would that supersede this, though?
No,
Would
we
apply
have
to- right, yeah,
two separate
exactly.
entities which
Yes, I'm aware of that.
allows public. So.
Okay, thank you. And then just a clarification on the two pieces in particular that were raised about government savings would have to be greater than the prize offered, and clarifying that the price isn't awarded unless it actually solves a problem. So those are amendments that you do plan to take, but you just need to figure out the language details. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so for the efficiency piece, this could be something that a department, obviously, like in the example of DARPA, the Defense Department agency that offered this for the combat vehicle, there was really not an efficiency. It was bringing the blueprints for an invention almost from whole cloth. I mean, bringing them to the department's awareness. And so there it'd be hard to identify inefficiency. So we would probably word it as an or. If a department chooses a discrete problem, like, invent something, that's a discrete problem that could be solved. And then the other thing would be or some idea for efficiency. Somebody might have a process that washes prison uniforms faster or something.
Sure.
You never know, or with less water. Yeah, and exactly. And so we want to word it so it's very clear and taking into consideration the very wise counsel that you've given in by email. We want to make it so it's very clear that this has to be a bona fide innovation. And I mean, it's our hope too that the public nature of these type of awards would solve those problems. I mean, no department head wants to get selected for this hopefully innovative bill and go out there and offer a prize and then, I gave it to somebody for a new toothpick or something. I mean, I think the hopefully the public attention would solve some of these problems as well.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll be
assuming we get a signature.
Yeah, I'll be happy to support it today, and we'll look forward to see how that language pans out before the floor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Calderon.
Assemblymember Gatto, I actually really like this bill, and while it's not mutually exclusive, I definitely see it as being a good bill for youth because we have this next generation that's growing up in a different world than a lot of people that are working within these departments and charged with trying to tackle certain issues didn't grow up in. They're dealing with technology, and they have a lot of really creative new ideas. And I chair arts and entertainment, and I fight for arts funding because I feel like it produces creativity out of these kids, and it's important for the government to want to challenge them, challenge the youth, challenge the next generation to try and solve today's problems based on the way that they view the world and the way that they think, because there's a lot of kids out there that are coming up with really, really great ideas, and I see this as being something, kind of within the same realm of something that I'm working on with placing entrepreneurs within different departments of government to help them streamline government and help us become more efficient and better serve the public. But I think this is a great bill. I think it's a great bill for the youth and the next generation, and I support it. And I'd like to be added as a co-author.
Will do. Thank you. Just one note on that. On that note, that's exactly, I think the targeted demographic here. My understanding is there's a generation of people whose mission is to, I guess 20, 30 years ago it would be to start a new internet company, but now the trend is to write an app for smartphones, and that's what all entrepreneurs are doing. And in Los Angeles, someone came forward and said, hey, I've got an app to report potholes and trees down and everything like that, and it quickly took off. So it'd be really neat, I think, if somebody thinks of some application that could improve state government and comes forward and writes the code, which my understanding they're pretty easy to do, and then offers it to state government and hopefully gets fame and fortune and millions of dollars.
Mr. Sajian.
Thank you. Great concept. Not a major concern, but those three departments will be dealing with this dollar figure. Are they limited as how many ideas can come forward and how many awards? Would that be within their budget year or fiscal year?
The way the bill is written, we wrote it so it was $75,000 so that it would get around the appropriations threshold. But so we envisioned three discrete $25,000 prizes, and that's it. Try it once, see if it works. And I think the challenge really will be for the governor to select three department heads who want this type of public, who will come forward and say, hey, we need a process improved and we need some ideas. And I think there will be some humility on the behalf of those department heads, but it'll be just one $25,000 grant or a prize within each department. Well, this is just a one-year thing, right? Yeah, the pilot. Yeah, essentially a one-year pilot project. So,
any other comments or questions from the committee? Seeing none, Mr. Gatto, I'd like to ask you about the clarifying amendments, if you're willing to accept them from the committee.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I do have a first by Mr. Calderon. I'm looking for a second. Second. I have a second by Mr. Sajian. And so, Mr. Gatto, I've given this a due pass. I do appreciate you thinking outside of the box and bringing in opportunities that might not be held otherwise. Private sector does this a lot, and we are also, as history has dictated, in the technology world, we've been severely constrained. So looking forward to this process moving forward to help us also move forward.
Thank you very much.
This is a due pass as amended, and Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
AB 2138, due pass as amended to the Assembly Committee on Appropriations. Frazier?
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Asajian?
Aye.
Asajian, aye. Allen?
Aye.
Allen, I. Buchanan. Buchanan, I. Calderon. Calderon, I. Cooley. Cooley, I. Gurrell. Medina. Medina, I. Olson. Olson, I. Quirk Silva. Quirk Silva, I. Salas. Salas, I. Hagman. Hagman, I. 12-0.
Mr. Gatto, it's 12-0. Your bill is out. We will
Thank you
keep
very much.
the roll open for members to add on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.